Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. Delving now into the court cards, and again I'm taking them by pages, all the pages, all the knights, all the queens, all the kings. This, it kind of doesn't, I don't know that it works. I guess the pages kind of developmental, but kind of not, more kind of going from being very self-centered to being more outward-centered or community-centered, maybe. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so starting, this is the Greenwood Tarot. I can't remember if I even said that. I've done this series of videos right in a row. And again, if you see different ways of ordering these, of how they can be ordered within the, I'll call it the class, you know, within the pages or within the knights, yeah, share down in the comments. So we're starting with pages. And I'm starting with a page of stones. So I'm seeing this little guy here as being mainly the page of stones. And in this picture, I just see this, and of course I should have said at the very beginning of this series, I'm not going by, I've read Jessica Potter's write-ups for her cards, but and I'm sure that that has informed what I've done with this deck, but to be honest, it was months ago, and my mind does not retain. Oh, yeah. It does not retain things very well. So, so here we go. So what I'm taking this to be is a little bird that's a little reluctant, scared, shy to enter the outside world. This is a youngster who is in fact ready. I see these as two parent birds, and this bird kind of flying out into the world, ready for independence. And I see this bird as being this page, as being comfortable with independence, and on top of that, exploration. Exploring what's in the cup, you know, what's in the cup, what's in the river, what's here, what's there, but still being on, more on, you know, into that exploration for their own sake, or for its own sake. Whereas, when we reach the wands, we have, I'm taking this as the little page saying, hey, look what I found, and bringing it back to the community. So it's beginning to be more community-minded. Okay, so there's the pages. Let's look at the knights. And again, I'm kind of going from individual self kind of centered to more broadly community-centered. So, the Knight of Arrows here, in parts because birds of prey, you know, usually we see them in ones, occasionally in groups, but not very commonly. And also the way a hawk hunts is quite individual and very direct. It's an Aries kind of, I see, I want, I dive. I will take it. Kind of an energy. It's also, I would say, much as I identify and like hawks, that it is rather simplistic. You know, it's a hawk is not looking for a problem to solve, and if it sees a problem, will probably look for easier pickings elsewhere. Whereas a fox, again, more of a solitary hunter, but is often community-minded, family-oriented, you know, has a den or whatever, and is in fact more intellectually sophisticated in terms of thinking about how to get what it is that it wants. or if it comes across obstacles or issues, will, circle and figure it out. So I'm going to go to the next one, because this is kind of, herd instinct. But this should have, so this is more community-minded. But I kind of wonder, again, because of the simplistic nature of the thinking, if it should have come before the fox. So, we think of the salmon, they go out into the ocean and then they return. So it's kind of returning to a communal situation. So the Knight of Cups as being someone who seeks to reestablish community after having been independent. And then finally, I use the wolf, because wolves do work in packs, and they work more intelligently in packs than salmon do in schools. And also because I see this as kind of, it's kind of weird. It's kind of a wounded ancestor energy or something, but that's kind of the way I take it. And so part of the sense of community here, also with this enigmatic structure here, is that the community is not only the pack, but a sense of history. Even though I wouldn't say that wolves have a sense of history, I think that's part of what this card is trying to get across. Okie dokie. On to the queens. So I'm not quite sure how I have the queens ordered here. I guess kind of with the self and building up, except for the Queen of Arrows is quite singular. So I kind of am going from kind of a maiden mother crone kind of thing going on here, except there's 4 cards. So treating the Queen of Cups as the more self-centered or self-serving, and I don't mean those in negative connotations so much as like that Page of Cups, very interested in discovering things for the sake of discovering them, of looking deeply, as it's doing there, into mysteries or whatever, just because that is what they are drawn to do, without any sense of anything else. And this is a very solitary, so not necessarily, so kind of like a young person, young person in the sense of being still on their own. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 25, up to maybe 30, whatever. Everybody comes to different things at different times, or never comes to certain things. Stays right there. I'm happy to stay right there. And then I take the Queen of Wands as wanting to have others in one's life. So you have the egg there. You know, there's various aspects of this. It could be wanting to be part of a community, a commune of other young people if you're still young or whatever, but wanting that warren, the community of rabbit. Also possibly wanting to start a family, and also possibly wanting to range out. You know, the fact that this card is going from darkness into light, to me is kind of like wanting to branch out and see things. This clearly is already a family card, but also a family card with a sense, I'm taking those bones to be a sense of history. So bringing up, you know, creating your own community, by having your little cub there, but also establishing a broader sense of community or history. So I think of that as kind of mother energy there. And this I think of as crone energy. The arrow is down, it's not headed anywhere, it's grounded. She's on the ground, she's not doing anything. And I think of this as holding space, just kind of with the protected heart there, is just kind of holding space for what's good in life. Maybe holding wisdom as well, but it might be more emotional wisdom with that heart there. All right. And this is kind of similar to what I just did with the queens. So this King of Wands, I've heard it said that this is not a mating ritual when snakes entwine this way, but rather a dominance kind of a play. So that's kind of the way I'm taking it. And that, so to me, this is kind of like the Two of Stones in terms of defining yourself by your interactions with other people. And I think of this king as a king who likes challenges, and likes challenges because of what it brings up, like rising. This is a king who likes challenges because it brings up that Kundalini energy in himself or herself, whatever the case may be. That it makes them feel pitting themselves against others or against obstacles or against problems, makes them feel alive. So now we're already heading into community. And again, these cards could be rearranged. So what we have, because what we have here is horse, which is in herds, and then caribou, which is in herds, and then lynx, which is not. Lynx are generally solitary. So that's, I don't know about that one. But I kind of have them in this order for a reason based on the images. So here we have an individual standing, and it is, again, it's a horse, so I see this as community also, but also just standing on their own, in their own power, and not feeling a lot of need for that, much as there might be a herd. Doesn't have to be a big one. Caribou is having a greater sense of community. Obviously, caribou are, in huge herds. And so I'm seeing this as pairing with another. There they are. It's a very sweet card. King of Cups. Very sweet card. So wanting to connect. Wanting to build on a foundation that is community. And then this, because, after you're paired frequently, you end up with a child. So this is passing within the community, not kind of being about you and the other person, but being about continuing the community by bringing up young'uns. But again, I can see how, because this should be a solitary king here, this King of Arrows. And of course, it's always problematic to ask a tarot card creator of an animal-oriented deck to actually adhere to the true nature of the animal. I don't know that male lynxes, if this is the king, I don't know that male lynxes ever have anything to do with their progeny. I don't know. I don't know if the male and female, they hook up and then they're apart and the female brings everybody up and the male has nothing to do. That wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. But I think I'll leave it as I just told you. But yeah, leave your comments below if you see other ways to order these things or to look at them. And again, I've got Cheska's thing, so you don't need to question me, or you don't need to quote to me from Cheska Potter's write-up, I'll just call it. It isn't quite a book, but her thoughts on these cards, because I do have that. But I don't think she went through like I'm trying to do and thinking of them in terms of some sort of progression or development within the kings or queens or whatever. So so let me know if you see something in that regard that I have not been seeing. And what does that... I'm still going to do one more that's the majors, and that's even sketchier than the court cards because I reordered them, and it's, like I said, it's just sketchy. But I probably after that also will, because it's helping me think about this deck and what this deck has to offer and its distinct qualities, I might try to come up with some distinct spreads based on that and see what the deck gives me in those spreads. Alrighty. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.